Hi.
Hello.
Hi everyone. So it's Crete here, and I wanted to do something a little bit different because obviously it's been first week or so where people have been locked down and things have been changing a little bit everywhere. And with all the uncertainty, I'm on a little bit of a mission to keep people upbeat and positive. And I thought, who best to get on and speak to other than my dear friend Sanae, who is one of the most positive people I know. So I work with business leaders to help increase their confidence through being aligned in life and business. And well, how did we meet? I Facebook stalked you, didn't I, for about 9 months? So Sanae,
Yes.
a little bit about what she does, but she works with coaches mainly, don't you?
Yes, yeah. So I'm a business breakthrough coach and sales mentor. So essentially, I help coaching entrepreneurs to monetize their gifts and master their message in order to help them kind of dominate their niche and feel really confident and credible, to speak up, go out there, share their message, and ultimately to make money, sell their coaching.
There you go. And you are a genius at what you do.
Thank you, Crete. Yeah, you're my star pupil, star client.
No, she is amazing. So I really wanted to get Sanae on and to be able to talk to us about the ways that she would recommend keeping positive at this time. So just before we get into that, what would you say that kind of like your learnings have been over the last week? How has all this impacted you?
Well, it's been really interesting. For me personally, there's not been too much disruption because I'm almost living a self-imposed self-isolation because I work from home. I'm full-time in my business. I've got my little pod here that's it's like a garden office. So my whole life is online.
Yeah.
So there's very little kind of disruption in that way. Obviously my children, they're at home, but they're teenagers, they're older teenagers doing their A levels.
You.
Yeah, so they look after themselves, they see to themselves, and they've got tons of work to do. So, but as far as kind of home personal disruption, not too great. But I think what I'm seeing is just the incredible way that people are really stepping up, and everyone has this incredible role to play, and everyone's kind of stepping into that role, and I'm seeing so much kind of compassion, kindness. I went out for my morning walk this morning, and so many windows have got the rainbow image that kids have drawn. Have you seen that? I've only realized this yesterday when I saw a post on social media, but the symbol or the kind of the message is a rainbow image. And so there's in all the windows, people have drawn rainbows. Kids have created these rainbows and put them in the window saying stay safe. And it's just they're everywhere. So to me it was just really, I felt really emotional seeing all that, thinking even the kids are just finding some, doing something positive. So I think that's, for me, it's just been a really powerful message in solidarity and how people really come together, and everyone has a role to play.
They're doing not similar, but they're doing like a teddy bear hunt here for the kids. So people are putting teddy bears in their window, and it's to encourage children to go out for walks and that, and to be able to get outside with their parents and things. So they're kind of doing these teddy bear treasure hunts. So something similar. But
it's amazing the things that just suddenly spread and everyone gets on board, and I think that's really, really powerful, really important.
I found the same as well. Out walking in the mornings, just people are just saying hello, they're staying away, but they're saying hello, which is really nice, because a lot of the time you can go out for a walk and everyone's just like head down, just ignore people. Now obviously they're not wanting to bump into people, but they're hi.
We're easier to say hello to because we're not going to have to stop and get too close. But I've seen loads of couples power walking together. Normally you just see people walking alone, but there's more couples out walking. In the morning, which is great. I think that's really positive.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So what have you found that you've had to like change anything in your business at all over the last couple of weeks, or do things a bit differently?
I think we can't ignore that things the world has changed dramatically, so that it can't be ignored. For me, again, personally, I've really doubled down on the mindset work. I mean, you said I'm one of the most positive people, and I've been called relentlessly optimistic, which I'll take that. But it is hard to ignore. You want to stay informed, you've got to be informed. But so for me personally, I've been doubling down on the mindset work, really staying present. And I think in terms of the business, yes, I have sort of considered, right, how can I, the pivot is the big buzzword at the moment in business. How are you pivoting your message or your audience? I have considered, what can I do? What's the value that I bring that I can improve and increase right now for people who really need it? And I think this is the message that I've been sharing with my community and my clients, is everyone has, we're not undermining the blood, sweat and tears that we bring as entrepreneurs to our services, but what can we do that has greater value, that is relevant now? So I know a lot of people who, well, one of my clients, for example, she's a love and relationship coach, and this is a perfect example of her shift. And so she was saying, what can I do in this current time? How much can I add value that is more relevant? And we were just looking at, well, she was also a divorce lawyer in a previous life. And we realized, well, there's this whole notion of people spending time together. She called it something, it was like the Christmas syndrome, where all lawyers get braced for this particular day in January, and they call it, get ready for divorce day. And so she said it's when couples spend this concentrated amount of time together, and then they just think enough's enough, I can't do this anymore, so they head for the divorce lawyers. And she was saying, so at this moment in time, people are at home 24/7. This is the perfect opportunity to work on that relationship. To improve your communication at home, and see if you can now take this time to improve your relationship. So that's just one example of how this particular coach can now shift her messaging and add real impact at a time where it's really needed. People that are spending time together when perhaps that's putting an extra strain on their relationship. So kind of and so I think most coaches can actually really find a way of bringing their value out into the world in a way that is really relevant today. And I think that's the thing that needs to happen. We coaches, more so than ever, entrepreneurs more so than ever, are needed, because people need answers. People are seeking answers. They don't know how to navigate this changed environment.
Agree. And I think as well that there's everyone, as you know, like my big thing is around everyone having a unique skill and offering to be able to bring. And regardless of kind of where you're at or what you do for work, what's your obligation to bring that out of yourself so that you can share that with others, because someone somewhere is going to be attracted to that and listen to what you say and be interested to hear it. And I think just finding that voice now to be able to speak up and be able to add value and help people, and so have an excuse sounds bad, but have a reason to do it, because people out there at the moment now's the time where they're going to be really stuck at home and asking themselves, when they've lost kind of like all of the things that they take for granted, like, what is it that I really want? Like, was I really that happy before? Like, and they're seeing things very differently. I think there's going to be a lot of change moving forward, and people becoming a lot more grateful for what they have got versus what they haven't. We spend our lives just on this treadmill striving for more and more, and then you realize that you really don't need that much to be that happy, so
absolutely. And I think I fall into that bracket of high achiever, and I know Korea the same. We're power forward, and suddenly it's, actually, is that really important? I love taking action, I love being productive, but when you're in flow and, like you say, putting your gift out into the world and making a difference as opposed to just as a means to an end, But yeah, I think you're right. There are so many people who are going to be sat at home thinking, what's next for me? You know, and perhaps this is the perfect opportunity to change direction and start self-reflecting.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so keen to be able to give people the tools and, you know, support that they need at the moment. And I know that you're doing this as well, to really help people. You know, they might not be in a position to be able to afford things or to go into programs. You know, everyone's being very careful about money and stuff at the moment, and I think it's you know, an obligation to give that to them and help them with things as well. So I've got some things up my sleeve, but I think being able to speak to you and get other guest speakers on as well that can actually add value and, you know, just talk about things as well. You know, it's about connecting and being there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, I mean, your community and like mine, there's, you know, you speak to entrepreneurs and business owners, and for me it's the same, coaching entrepreneurs. And I think if people have been in their business for some time, even just 12 months, but often a bit longer, we have this kind of extra meaty resilience muscle that can weather most storms. And we have lots, like you say, tools and techniques, mindset tools and techniques that we can share with people. So having weathered many storms as business owners, having the tools and techniques for the mindset, going out there and actually sharing that with people who might not have that knowledge, that know-how, that mental resilience, you know, being able to share that and say, you know, these are some tools and techniques that I've learned through being a business owner. You can get much more of a, you know, a stormy journey than, than you know, setting up your own business.
No, you're right. And you kind of forget the stuff that you do know now, that you kind of just assume now that a lot of people would know these things and they don't. I mean, I wrote a post today about meditation, and I was thinking, okay, but there's a breathing bit that I wrote at the end of it, which is the, you know, breathe in for 5, hold for 5, breathe out for 5, hold for 5, to try and slow you down and get into a meditative state. And I was like, well, this is so straightforward. And it's like, yeah, but I didn't know that like 3-4 years ago. I wasn't doing that. You know, and it's little things like that that can really help calm the mind down when it's racing at the moment. And I mean, I've noticed this week, just with the kids and not being able to be, because I'm at home most of the time now working, and just having the kids and Dave in the house all day, every day. It's like I don't have a pod out in the garden, unfortunately.
Bucket list.
I'm like, oh my God. So, you know, like trying to find the time to actually meditate. And I've really missed it this week. And I know that that's the thing that I have to be doing, because something that I've done religiously for about, I don't know, 9-10 months now. And so I know that that's something that just really helps and totally kind of is able to take me into a different state and kind of come out with a bit more patience and a bit more sanity. So
that is just hitting reset. And I, you know, I'm the same. I discovered meditation probably, I don't know, not even 2 years ago, I'd say, probably about 18 months ago, and it's been life transformative. So I've managed to get to like 43, 44 and discovered this thing, and now I assume everyone does it.
I know. I remember the first time you mentioned it to me, you were the one that got me into it.
You're probably thinking, oh, some stupid hippie. But no, it's life-changing. Life-changing.
It is. So whilst we're on that subject, what else would you recommend in terms of like calming the mind down and trying to remain positive at the moment?
So again, breath, coming back to the breath. You talk about the 5, 7-11 breathing, where you inhale for 7 and exhale for 11. The long exhale is like relief. And so when you do a long exhale, it triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the system that brings you back into kind of homeostasis, that calms the heart rate down, blood rushes back into your forebrain. Because when you're holding your breath in fear, then, you know, it puts you into a state where you're either in freeze or freeze, fight, or fight. So when you're in any of those kind of states, it's just not serving you. So really coming back to the breath. Also understanding that movement is really important. So when I did a training yesterday, just in really briefly, when you're in those fear states, we all have a dominant fear state that we automatically by default will go to, whether that is the fight, the flight, or the freeze. So you could, if you remember to breathe and then move your body in opposition to that default fear response. So for example, if you are somebody who gets very aggressive, very irritable, very kind of explosive with a very short fuse when you're in that fear state, the best thing to do is start moving your body in a really fluid way, a bit like a lava lamp or sort of an 80s body popper. And when you start to just move your body in that way, it kind of counters the automatic response. You're sort of switching that off.
Right.
So movement. When you're a freezer, when you just like rabbit in headlights and you hold your breath, the thing to do there is to bounce like a baby on your knees, to stay really grounded and bounce and wiggle. That kind of jiggles it out. And then what was the other one? The flight. Obviously, the flight response, somebody will just get distracted. They'll immerse themselves in sort of being busy for being busy without feeling present and grounded. So the thing to do there is power posing or a sumo wrestler's pose, where you kind of heavy stance, make yourself wide. So movement can really shift your state.
Yeah.
So that's breath, movement, and understanding that fear is what you're focusing on. It's a choice. So we can always choose moment to moment what we're focusing on. And if we're using words like I feel immobilized, paralyzed, paranoid, fearful, worried, anxious, all of those words, even just saying them has an impact on our nervous system. And we start to embody them. Our subconscious goes, okay, takes it as an instruction. So even just changing the words to think about, well, what do I want to feel instead? I want to feel joy, harmony, balance, safe. I want to feel safe right now. I want to feel happy. And you can very quickly just think about the state you really want to be in instead, and then think of when was the time I felt like that, and bring back a memory and use that as an anchor. So it's just so absolutely, and it's always a choice what you focus on. And that will affect your state and how empowered you feel moment to moment.
That's what I spoke about at the event that I was at the other day, which was around kind of like the uphill and downhill. Uphill being kind of like that going against gravity, that negative way self-talk, versus downhill, where it's more positive, there's more flow to it, and you're not resisting. And I think it's just catching yourself when you're saying these things. And I think that's probably the hardest part to train yourself to do, is to actually recognize when you are saying these things or you're feeling a certain way, and to change that dialogue state that you have. I think once you actually start really practicing that, it becomes pretty easy. You stop yourself very early on, but you do have to train yourself to do that.
It takes and that's why we call it a discipline, because it does take daily practice and being real self-awareness, isn't it? You catch yourself and go, that's not serving me, but so much of the time we can be walking around totally unconscious, saying, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so busy, and so we perpetuate the state without realizing what we're doing.
Recognizing your triggers, huh?
Yes. I'm all about recognizing triggers. Absolutely. But and that's another thing, we if we go out there and share this stuff to support people, it's powerful information. And we've had to really be at the sharp end of life, business, financial worries, struggle to discover this stuff, so we didn't learn this through read a book and just embodied it. We had to really learn it through hitting the deep end.
I really realized that last weekend when I think I did quick video on it about control, and how I was thinking about how I would have felt a few years ago when I was employed, and you know, the security of having an income coming in. And I think that's actually what I'm grateful for in all of this, is that taking that leap out of your comfort zone to go and launch a business. You're completely right. You throw yourself into the lion's den, and you're like, especially when you're doing it online as well, and you're waiting to be shot down, especially when you're introverted like yourself.
Yes.
I'm a halfway house. I'm 50-50.
Right.
But yeah, it's exactly right. You kind of, we've lived this for a bit, and I'm grateful that I haven't got that like major shock. But I see it with Dave, my husband, you know, not that he's that concerned about his job, but it's definitely crossed his mind this week over how things will go. And absolutely.
Well, there is a lot of fear about, you know, work and people's futures, and I think that's where the whole kind of, where people are going to start hitting reset, because if you're unfamiliar with this level of pain and fear, then often that's the thing that you hit threshold and it becomes a positive thing. So I heard it was Michael Beckwith, and it was literally yesterday I heard him say, pain pushes you until vision pulls you. And I was like, oh my God, I love that, because it's so true. You can, you know, pain will push you out of your normal paradigm until you hit a threshold where you hit that sweet spot, enough is enough. And sometimes people can live in pain for quite a long time. Until something just tips them, and then they get kind of an inspired idea or an insight into, actually, this is meant to be, I can grow through this, and then the vision starts to pull them forward. And I know from my own experience, I've really been there, where I've gone from suddenly the push to the pain to the stop to the pull of vision, you know, and it's just it was really powerful. And I think people are going to have possibly that experience now,
and also to be mindful that with all of these things, the time will pass, you know. It's only now that it's happening. In a year's time, this will be over, you know. It will be a memory,
history.
There'll be some fallout for a lot of people, which will be unpleasant, but people generally, I'd imagine, in a year's time, be, you know, back on their feet and things starting to pick up again. So it's just a period of time. It's just getting through this. And and
you know, we have been through challenges, you know, world crises in the past. I mean, this is unprecedented for sure, but you know, people have experienced previous, you know, challenges in life, and so like you say, this time shall pass, and people will be probably the stronger, hopefully better for it, more connected for sure.
Definitely better connected.
Oh,
cool. Well, thank you for speaking with me.
No, this has been really fun. Thank you.
I know. Come on again. Maybe we should do a regular hookup each week at coffee time or something.
On the sofa with Karit and Sanae.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's lovely to speak to you, my love. I will speak.
Thank you, darling.
Soon.
Yeah, all right. Thanks so much.
Cheers for that. Bye. Bye.